Hello, we continue with these amazing activities in the team conference. And right now we have a special session related to learning analytics. This is a topic that is amazing to manage during those days. So the session will be conducted by Ángel Hernández-García and Miguel Ángel Conde. So thank you very much and enjoy the session.
Okay, well, thank you very much, Alicia, and good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to this session on the track on learning analytics. It's entitled A Time to Shine. We can elaborate on that later on. The chairs of this session are, as Alicia said, it's my colleagues, Miguel Ángel Conde, Julián Chaparro Peláez, and myself, Miguel Ángel Conde from Universidad de León, and Julián and I are in the Universidad Politécnica de Madrid. First of all, I would like really to thank all the authors for their superb and terrific contributions, which as the audience in YouTube knows, they are available in YouTube. You can even get some surprises in some of the presentations. They were all terrific. We would also like to thank this fantastic organization, taking into account that it's a virtual conference. It's not the same, but we'll try to make it as close as possible as their experience we would have in a face-to-face presentation. So we encourage during the session we encourage the audience to participate through YouTube. If I'm correct, all the comments over there will be given to us by the organizers. I would also like to thank the reviewers for their great work in selecting these very, very valuable contributions. Okay, so the structure of this session is proposed as a roundtable that will deal with very important topics in learning analytics. We've structured in 5 big questions. But before that, we would like to make a brief summary of the contributions that we have received this year. They pivot around 3 main topics. We had to change the subtitle of this session to A Time to Shine, obviously due to the COVID-19 pandemic. We think that the move to online learning, or how it's called today, emergency remote teaching, gives an opportunity for researchers and educators to take full advantage of the possibilities of online learning regarding data collection and also instructional actions and interventions based on data collection. So we think that learning analytics has an important, now an opportunity to shine. And the contributions this year revolve around 3 main topics. First, what we have called the new usual business, that's progresses in traditional lines of research in learning analytics. Then we have a contribution that focuses on the assessment of teamwork. It's called a learning analytics tool for the analysis of students' Telegram messages in the context of teamwork virtual activities, by Miguel Ángel Conde, Francisco Rodríguez Sedano, Camino Fernández, Alexis Gutiérrez Fernández, Laura Fernández Robles, and Manuel Castejón Limas. Then we have the application of very, very interesting and novel techniques, such as eye tracking for learning analytics. In this case, the contribution is called Validating Item Response Processes in Digital Competence Assessment through Eye Tracking Techniques, by Juan Bartolomé, Pablo Graizar, and Leire Bastida. And we have again, one of the most important topics, traditional topics in learning analytics, which is the creation or the elaboration of early warning systems of students at risk. In this case, the contribution is by, sorry, wait a minute. It's helping teachers to identify students at risk and analyze their learning process by Ainhoa Álvarez, Miguel Villamañe, and Leire Ibarguchi. We have another stream of research. It's focused on ethics, security, and privacy, which was one of our wake-up calls in the past team conference, past editions. This is the 8th year that we're on the track on learning analytics. In this case, 2 contributions approach this topic by focusing on learning privacy. That's the contribution called titled Learning Privacy, a Pending Assignment by Marc Allier, Maria Jose Casain, Daniel Amo, and Charles Severance. And an interesting proposal of a framework of principles to foster privacy. That's the contribution 7 principles to foster privacy and security in educational tools, local educational data analytics by Daniel Amo Filbar, Ricardo Torres, Xavier Canaleta, Javier Herrero Martín, Cristina Rodríguez, and David Fonseca. And of course, this was a time to shine for contributions, including the effects of the COVID-19 pandemic. That's what we have called the new unusual business. And we have 4 contributions approaching this topic. The first one is shared with the new usual business, and it's a contribution of learning analytics tools for the analysis of students' Telegram messages that I have already introduced before. Then we have an analysis of the impact of COVID-19 in and psychological aspects of Ecuadorian students. It's called, the work is called Ecuadorian Higher Education in COVID-19 and Sentiment Analysis by Rubén Pazmiño, Fernando Vadillo, Miguel Ángel Conde, and Francisco José García Peñalvo. We have a contribution of that analyzes the direct impact of COVID-19 on the use of Moodle platforms. In this case, it's the impact of COVID-19 on UPC's Moodle platform and ICE's role by Joanna Prat, Ariadna Llorens, Marc Alier Forment, Daniel Amo Filba, and Francesc Salvador. And finally, a very interesting approach was the study or the analysis of whether cheating was happening during taking exams and the COVID-19 pandemic context. And this contribution, it's called Analysis of Learning Records to Detect Student Cheating on Online Exams, a case study during COVID-19 pandemic by Antonio Valderas and Juan Antonio Caballero Hernández. We want to welcome all the authors who are present, and I guess you see them in your little screens in YouTube. I can see them in Zoom. So I think I've talked enough. These were the contributions. And let's go straight ahead. If you think it's okay, we will open the round table first to all authors and without any order. So feel free to participate when you want. We would like to for you to give us just a brief summary of your contribution for those in the audience who have not had the opportunity to watch your YouTube presentations. We would like just a brief summary of your contributions, but we would like you to focus on what are the main takeaways of your studies. I mean, what would you emphasize or highlight as the main contributions for both academic research and for actual instruction? So I give you the floor to all the authors, so you may feel free to participate.
Well, I would like to be the first in this case, just to thank the organization and as part of the chairs of this track. Thank all of you for your quality papers. Third, thanks all of you for working in this field, still working in this field in a situation where we need to look for the best solutions when we have no time, when we have no possibilities sometimes, and I think it's a good time to shine, as Ángel said, but also a hard time to shine. Okay, so I think it's interesting that all of you are here. Some of the authors are not, which is a little worrying, but we can deal with it, I think. And in this case, I'm into papers included. The first, I have more or less worked during several years. I have been talking about teamwork assessment, and I have been talking about using for this topic the analysis of instant messaging tools. Yeah, and maybe I can enhance two main ideas. First of all, teamwork is essential anyway, and teamwork assessment individually is really, really hard. How to do this? There are different methods. We have seen several, and the idea is to apply learning analytic tools to explore logs and interaction between students. The problem that the students the student do not use usually forums to communicate. That was our tool for interaction, and we decided to use instant messaging tools to interact. But this opens a new thread and it opens a new possibility. And we need to look for ways to apply tools in order to analyze the results, to analyze the quality of the interactions, to analyze the number of multimedia messages. The way in which we are analyzing the interaction is different than in other tools. So we have tried to adapt ourselves to this situation, and the results are more or less good or okay, but maybe we can discuss later if a result is proper or it's really nice, or it's nice because you have a sample that is fits with your aims, and you have better results because of this. Regarding the other paper, the one that I'm one of the co-authors, and I think that the author is not here right now. No, he is not. Well, simply to say that an important idea during the pandemic situation is to analyze how people is feeling, and it's a part of academic analytics field. And so we have done this in Ecuador through different the analysis of different interviews and activities, interactions. So we can say we have applied different techniques, and we have seen that there are a lot of stress, and people is worried about the situation, which is something that is normal, but it's necessary to have evidences also. So in this way, we can look for better ways to conduct learning initiatives that help us to overcome the problem, or at least to reduce stress in students, which is also really interesting. And as I have talked too much because of the two papers and the chair, I pass the floor to any of you. So just tell us who is interested on talk, and we will hear you, and we will be ready to ask you things.
Okay, so feel free to take the floor. I can see here Juan, Antonio, Ainhoa, Joanna, and David.
Okay, I'm going to be the second one.
Perfect.
Okay, first of all, thank you very much for organizing such a nice conference. My work is in the area of digital competence assessment, and my work is focused on improving the quality of assessment tasks because it's a determinant of learning, considering that the students design the learning activities on the basis of how they are going to be assessed. There is a strong connection between the students' performance and engagement and how tasks and assignments are designed. So it's crucial to correctly design the evaluation items to trigger the intended knowledge and skills. So we apply a tracking technology to gather information that is not currently being collected in computer-based assessments. We focus on one of the 5 sources of evidence according to the standards of educational and psychological testing. That is the analyzing the validity of the response processes. No? Response processes are approaches and behaviors of examinees when they interpret assessment situations and formulate and generate solutions. So we wanted to find a set of metrics that could help test designers to validate them understanding the interpretation of participants with the test, and analyze how these metrics might vary among participants of different levels of digital competence. And the results are very interesting because we have found a list of metrics, and we could see that participants with lower level of digital competences spend more time for solving a task. They realize more fijations on the area of interest, and the durations of the fijations in those areas of interest were higher. So there is a big potential in using learning analytics in this context.
Thank you very much, Juan. Some of these things are going to be interesting topic for discussion later on. So thank you. Who would like to go next?
Yeah, I would like to go next if you allow me.
Okay, you go, Mark.
Okay, then first of all, it's just to remind Miguel Ángel, my friend Miguel Ángel, and that hard times are especially are exactly the time to shine. And if we know, for instance, in the world of technology and the companies, the practice, the tools that we use were the ones who emerged and succeeded during the crisis. For instance, I think of Amazon, Google, Apple succeeded during the crisis of the bubble of the .com, and a lot of companies that now are struggling were the winners in the 2008 crisis. So it's when during the crisis, it's where you have to take the hard choices, and the bad solutions are going to be easily weeded out. So it's the time to shine. And in this time to shine, we realize that when everybody goes online, we have to be thankful for all the work that we have been doing for the last 25 years, as Daniel Burgos said in the keynote, or with online learning, developing these tools, and of course for the last 10 years developing learning analytics, because when all the learning goes online, learning analytics is the only way that you can have some kind of feedback and know what is going on. But as you know, I have been for the last 3 editions of this track hammering learning analytics. I have to stress that I'm no Luddite. I'm Ludo, but no Luddite. And I want just to make, I think that learning analytics is important, as I just said, but it's important to acknowledge the impact of our research and the technologies we develop. And these technologies are having an impact in organizations, and how we and the impact on the behavior of students, teachers, institutions, and the societies. And for instance, in this case, I just wanted to focus in one thing that we explain in the paper, which is the one who triggered the idea for the song Hakuna Matata at the end of our video. The song was sketched out by Charles Severance in his podcast, video podcast, learningprivacy.org, that you can find in YouTube and in the domain. He explained this thing about Hakuna Matata. It's like, but he make it like a poem, and then I turn it into a song. and I put it in the paper, and the reviewers were so kind to ask me to remove it, please, because it was not formal enough for a research paper. So I said, okay, maybe it's not formal enough for a presentation, especially in a kind place and a place where I feel loved as a team conference. So the idea is that when we choose to use some technologies, in this case, the migration from software as a from running our servers and going to software as a service, we are losing the ability. Our technical staff is forgetting and is losing the ability to innovate and change and host a learning management system. So then we lose the ability to innovate. It's just in the song, you go to a forum and post a feature request and pray that you're going to have some people backing your request, so somebody's going to implement it. So forget about learning innovation or developing new tools, because now you're in the software as a service model. So we have to take into account, and then what happens to the data. And the problem is that with learning analytics and all the things that we can offer with learning analytics is that we are creating the incentives to get as much data as possible, and we are not concerning ourselves with, should we use this data? What are we using this data? Yesterday, somebody was talking to me about analyzing the emotions of students. Heck no. This is a no. Please go through an ethical commission and think what could happen is if you want to do emotional analysis or analysis of the videos of people. Maybe there are red lines, and we have to think about these red lines. I don't have the answers. I'm just stubborn enough to pose these questions, and I submit to the panel. And now I leave it you for the discussion. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Mark. Yeah, we'll explore some of these topics later on. We have devoted, as you see in the screen, this is question 1. We will have plenty of time to address these concerns on point 4. So I'm just going ahead of that, but very interesting. I don't know who wants to be next.
Me, for instance.
Okay, go ahead, Antonio.
Okay. Hello, everyone. Nice to see you again in team, and thank you, Ángel, Miguel Ángel, and all the organization. And well, my work comes from the context of the pandemic, as you previously said. And as you know, we couldn't go to the class, and we moved everything online. And I think that most of the problems came at the time of assessing our students. I remember the department councils, professors don't trust their students. They think that if they can copy, they are going to copy and they're going to cheat. And students, the students that were in the department council said that, okay, so that means that exams are going to be more difficult. We are going to have less time, and if we are having a bad situation in the personal aspect, you are going to make it even difficult. So if you remember, I think that in the Universidad de Granada, the Universidad de Cádiz, and even I think maybe the Universidad de Salamanca also, several movements in the social network with hashtags were protesting about this subject, about this topic. So we decided, my colleagues and I, to in one part of our subject implement the things that students were asking. So they asked for 3 points. We admit 2. The first one was to have a realistic amount of time, because they say that they weren't able to answer a question and each 4 options in only 40 seconds, 50, 1 minute. So we decided to give them 2.5 minutes. And the second point was to give them an asynchronous amount of time to do the exam. So if the exam were 25 minutes for 10 questions, they have 3 hours from 11 to 2, and they have well, this was the stuff. So they were able to do the exam in several times because they say that if the campus virtual were broken, they lose their exam. So we implemented that, and then we analyzed learning logs in order to see if we were able to obtain records that give us evidence of cheating behavior or not, maybe not. So this was, at the beginning, we didn't know the evidence. No, this was something like, well, we are going to do it, and then we are going to see if we can see something here, because the majority of the cheat is outside the campus virtual, and of course we don't want, and we cannot know what they are doing in WhatsApp, Disco, Skype, or other tools. But what the records we have in the campus virtual, we can detect something that gives us evidence in order to, and we think we got something, because if they have 3 hours, they work in groups of students and they connect in a sequence. The first student gives the exam, for instance, in 25 minutes, the whole time. The second student in 25 minutes and get a higher grade. And we saw that the later they took the exam, the better grade they obtain and the less time they need. So, and we detect with our tool, a tool we develop in Python, PyCheat, analyzing learning records, that groups of students that may do the exam in a sequence. So this is more or less, and this is what we do. Of course, not all the students are cheaters, so only with we have evidence. But of course, if this were a youth or I cannot accuse them of cheating. But I think I have documents or data to tell them, okay, I cannot do this again. Even if you see the paper, the grades improve a lot, maybe in comparison with the previous years. Okay, well, this is the introduction, and if you want, we can talk about it later.
Yes, thank you, Antonio. I think we will be able to elaborate on next point 2. So we still have Ainhoa, Joanna, and David.
Great.
I can go.
Okay, go ahead, Ainhoa.
So first, also thanks to the organizers and the session chairs for this interesting conference, and moreover in this complicated situation. So thank you very much. Our work is related, well, in the last years we have been working in different aspects related with trying to analyze and improve formative assessment. And in this environment, we have been working with visualization tools and trying to visualize things to the teacher so that the teacher can see what is happening and take remediation actions and whatever. And on this paper, what we have presented is a preliminary work, which is related with trying to improve this visualization tool with some options to generate or to classify students into those at risk and those that are not at risk, so that we can create these groups. The idea is to create them automatically, because for teachers that are not or have not much data literacy skills, we have tried to. It's not easy for them to apply the techniques to discover these groups. So this is the area we have been working, and we think also that is very important, because in this situation where frequently we don't have so much connection with the students, maybe because we are online or whatever, I think that trying to identify these students is even more important than before. And until now, we have only been working, it's a preliminary work, we have been only working with previous evaluation, then marks on previous works, previous courses, or in the previous works in the course. But we are working now trying to improve this prediction with other information, taking them especially from Moodle or from information the teacher has. And that's a little bit what we are working now.
Yeah. Okay, thank you. I know we'll have time to elaborate on that further in the next point. So thank you very much. Now I don't know if Joanna or David. Joanna, okay, just go ahead.
Good morning, and thank you to invite us. I am talking in name of the Ariadna Llorens, that is the director of the Institute of Education Science of the la Universidad Politécnica de Catalunya. She cannot because is teaching, and mainly we present what has been the paper of the ICE, the Institute of Sciences of the Education of that university. This university involves about 2,900 teachers and has a Moodle platform of 27,000 users. And I don't remember, but many centers we have, about 15, I think, different centers like small universities. And we have been able to analyze the indicators of the Moodle platform together with the work of the ICEs, the ICEs helping to the teachers, and the result has been amazing. We have seen that this together with, maybe I forgot something, and Mark will help me. That is our co-author, and we have one important. This the beginning of the confinement. The university has the Jesuit to us. It was implemented the next week to the confinement. So this helped to the impressive result we have had in the university all together. The actions of the ICES. We for instance, we did courses with 800 between 80 and 150 users every course. We did 80 courses for the teachers. The 52% of the teachers did the courses, and the result with the actions of the students and the actions of the teacher is amazing. We think that all together helped, that we helped doing these courses, and with the plus the Jesuit, plus the we have a special thing in Atenea that helps the user to try the Moodle resources. This is something special only in the UPC, and we have been able to show the indicators because we did a previous work. Nobody wanted to see these indicators before, but now it seems that it's interesting to see. And we have been able to see results looking at the indicators of the Moodle platform. Like, for instance, yes, the students and the teacher have worked a lot, but is the answer of the student according to all the work has done the teachers? And we have seen that, yes, that is correlated, and for all the centers. For instance, this is another thing that we have seen is we have compared the same term before the COVID and after the COVID. And we have compared with the last term because we have data, and the results are impressive. For instance, a small thing is the UPCs in mean. see if before COVID we had about 40% of concurrent users, see, per topic, per subject. During the COVID, we have about 60%. So this is only one data that we have, and don't have anything else to say.
For the moment, I guess, we will have time to elaborate further. And the only contribution that we still don't know more about, apart from the YouTube video, is the one by David. So please go ahead and introduce the main takeaways of your contribution.
Okay. Thank you for coming, and thank you to the chairs for the session. This work is so complex because there has a lot of derivatives and is inside of a big project. For understanding the main idea is we are working on La Salle. This is a Catholic institution, in this case in a university that depends of the Ramon Llull University. But in Spain there are 2 universities and more or less about 122 centers with over more or less 80,000 of students and 60,000 of educators. Then some years ago, 4 or 5 years ago, the La Salle district, more or less, is all the institutions managed by the La Salle in Portugal, Spain, and Andorra, decides to implement a new learning context that represents a new educational framework developed in the general chapter of the La Sallian schools, to establish a pedagogical model that can apply it to all stages of education, from infant, school, passing by primary, secondary, high school, and university. And this methodology was first implemented in some pilot courses in primary 2 years ago, and in the university more or less also 2 years ago. Then what's the problem? The problem is to assess, to make a good evaluation of this process, because there are a lot of characters, a lot of actors in this context: the teachers, the students, the families, the school directors. And for this issue, we have proposed, and when we say we have the 2 universities of La Salle, in this case from Madrid, that is associated with the Competence of Madrid, with all the studies related to the education and more focus in social science, and La Salle of Barcelona, more technical, with informatics, telecommunications, architecture, animation, video games, art, digital arts, etc. We decide to present a proposal for an context to make the evaluation and assessment of the process of the implementation of the new context learning. This process was accepted this year. In May of 2020, was accepted by the chief of the district of La Salle. The Arlet district is the correct name. And we decide to design the process and the different levels to make the evaluation. The first step was to identify all the possible elements to be assessed, and we have all the paper in the track of I don't remember, assessing the learning, track 13 that we have presented this morning, when we present our proposal to collect the data and what type of data we need to analyze in order to define if this process of changing all the education in all the schools was being a correct model. But to do all this process is necessary. We will work with a lot of data. We will work with a lot of different technological systems. And then it's very important to create a system with a correct quality, with a high security, and of course, to ensuring the privacy, the identity, and the confidentiality of all the data that we need to collect, and we need to work with that. And for this reason, in this paper, we propose a new, more or less, not a new, and a system, in this case, to collect and to work with the data. Because it's important that when we are working with a Moodle, or when we are working in some schools with Google or Microsoft systems, all the data that we are recollecting from our academic interactions or with an assessment are going to the cloud, and the cloud is processed by other institutions that not is the educational institutions. When we propose this paper and establish these 7 levels of local educational data analytics, the LEDA, also we have contacted with one of the main, I don't know if the correct says to say the POPEs, and he agreed with us in the first item, or in this case, the last item, to save the data. We need to start with the local first. We need to work with the local data. We need to assume that the local data is more security in order to work with other cloud computing systems, to work with them. I need to know that I am more in the organization of the project and in contact with the different schools. And in this case, the paper was developed by Daniel Amo, that now is teaching. And I think that more or less about in 20 minutes, we will go to the session, and maybe he can explain with more detail the items developed in the paper.
Okay, thank you, David. So before moving on to the second main point, now that we know all about everything, or the main takeaways about each contribution, I don't know if any of the authors has any question to some other author.
Yeah, I have a question for Antonio. First of all, I would like to make 2 points. One is that we are a bunch of Spaniards talking in bad English, and we would be more proficient at talking to each other in Spanish. But for the benefit of those who are listening to us via YouTube, we are doing it in English. Then the other thing is that I am surprised that Daniel Amo is not capable of teaching class and being here at the same time and running 120 kilometers barefoot. So it's
when he comes, you can say, okay, what's the problem?
Yeah, I'm really disappointed in him that he cannot do these 3 things at the same time. I was expecting more of him. And then on to Antonio. Antonio, I don't have any empirical data to support it, but my qualitative and analysis and experience about cheating is that cheating is related to 3 factors. One is the interest of the student in the subject. Then also this is also related in the motivation of the student, and then in the workload, in the overall workload in the life of the student, of course, also related to the other subjects in that he is studying at the same time. I don't know if you have made any taking this into account into your analysis. And because my experience is when a student has a high interest in a course, he's not going to cheat at all. And when the student feels that, and I would like to make this learning analytics, who here has never cheated in his or her career? Please raise your hands. Okay, thank you very much.
Well, thanks for the question. Let's see, if you, in the paper we have, or in the study, the exam participated 103 students. We detected evidence amount of maybe I don't know, 50 students involved, but this doesn't mean, we have a lot of students that are motivated, that really did a very good exam and did the exam the first. But even if you are a student motivated, you have friends, and you go to the group or to the lab to the group of your lab session with maybe 6 more mates. And even if you are motivated, if your best friend isn't as motivated as you, ask you for help, are you going to tell him, no, I'm going to help you? Because we think that even being motivated, students motivated that really did a very good exam, helps their friends, help their mates. So, but what the meaning of helps? You can help your mate studying with him, and you can help your mates doing the exam through their monitor, sharing your screen.
Yeah.
Option. So, can we avoid this?
Yeah, but the one who's cheating is, so I understand that the one who's cheating is the one asking for help, and this one is the one that maybe either he will not have the skills or will not have put the time. If he doesn't have the skills while having put the time, then we have a problem of why this student is in this course. But usually what we have is, if you have usually when you are trying to avoid cheating, what you're doing is putting some kind of technology or system around it, proctoring or something out of hell like it. But you are putting a resistance. You're just putting some kind of resistance, a barrier against an incentive to cheat. And my impression is that the incentive to cheat is that you are willing to put some effort in cheating and not in studying because you don't care about the subject. So my formula to avoid cheating is making the subject more interesting and the students more motivated, instead of losing energy, putting barriers. Otherwise, we are extracting energy from the system. If the students, if you have high motivation in the students, and your students have enough time and they are able to do this, if they do the work, they are able to pass the course because they have passed the right selection process, you will get the cheating will be something strange. But when there is not enough motivation, you have to do this course because it's something that you require to get the title, and the student is sometimes thinking, what the hell I'm doing here? I don't want to be here. I'm not interested in this course. Then he's going to, if he's going to get 1+ hour for his spare time by cheating and not studying, he has all the incentives to do that. So I think that's this equation. Are we going to put barriers, or are we going to incentive the students? And that's my idea. That's why I'm really against proctoring and anti-cheating techniques. It's about, so it's the teachers should work on the other part and in adding energy to the system, not adding friction in the system. So for me, anti-cheating systems are friction. So this is from the pedagogical point of view. Yeah. That should be included in the processes of technology, learning analytics, of course.
Yeah, when they say they think they were motivated, the majority of them, but they think that they had a lot of exams, a lot of subjects. So this is the easiest way.
That's the main problem, that sometimes the students are motivated, but they have a lot of work in the other courses and they don't really have time to do it all. So they have all the incentives to cheat, and no safe amount of technology that we put in the middle is going to block them from cheating. Because if we use technology, they will have other technologies, but because you can control their computer, they will have another computer. You can force them to show you your background, but so what's behind their computer? And they can use VPNs. They can use everything. I used to use this pen, this writing pen, where you could write with a pointy stick, with a needle, and you could write, and it was transparent. But looking at it at the right light, you could see the formula that you wouldn't want to spend half an hour learning by heart. So you will always be cheating. So it's if students are cheating, it's because there's something wrong. But because I ask if anybody here has never cheated. All of us, we have cheated. It's necessary if you want to get your degree, because you are overworked, and sometimes you just need the confidence just to know what the formula is. You know what the formula is for, how to apply it, how to use it, but you don't remember exactly this long formula. And you need this device just to get some comfort and security for yourselves. And now we are becoming mean gatekeepers, forcing the students not to cheat. And I have some colleagues, especially in high school, that they say sometimes, I would like my students to cheat because it would show that they care. And sometimes when you have student failure, is they don't cheat because they don't really care. So if they cheat, is you have one level of interest. So it's stop demonizing cheating. It's something, and we do it even. We borrow ideas from each other. It's not bad.
Mark, I agree with you. In fact, I think that cheating, the problem is in the system, but probably we are going far from our topics today. That is, in this case, learning analytics. So maybe we can go on with the questions, because I think that we are going to have a very interesting debate in other topics that are more near to the thing. But I think it's okay. Cheating, it's a topic that probably gives us a conversation for 2 hours. And I agree with you that the problem is in the system and probably in how we are proposing the learning pathways, how are we proposing the contents, how are we dealing with the students. But the thing is, okay, learning analytics can allow us, as Antonio has shown in his paper and in the video, is able to allow us to know or to understand that they are doing, and maybe to make decisions about this. But in this case, I think that we have discussed enough about the topic of where is the main origin of the cheating.
Just let me point out how this discussion is related. I understand that the discussion is over about cheating, but I just want to point out the importance of this kind of discussion, because we are creating technology and we're doing research using technology to know what is going on in the classroom, but we have to think about the underlying social dimensions and pedagogy dimensions and the motivations, and we have to remember that we are thinking about persons, and we were in the flesh and bones of these persons, and we are using tools. Learning analytics in concrete it's the application of business intelligence to education, and business intelligence is for factory production analysis. And we are trying to transpose these tools and these practices and these techniques and these maths to the analysis of the performance of students. And there's a big conflict here. And we have always to remember, okay, what are we trying to do? That's my point. It's in every paper that we can find. We always lose this point of view, and that's why I'm so stubborn about it.
Mark, if I may step in, there's a long debate of which I'm also an advocate in that the principles of business analytics should not be directly transposed to learning analytics, because there's the automated part of business analytics, whereas learning analytics needs effective intervention from some human who understand the information and then applies that information to the instructional design and instructional process. So I've always been an advocate of that, instead of just performing purely educational data mining with automated systems, which can lead us to this second step, this second question that I would like to direct to all the different authors. In fact, I have some questions for you regarding how to effectively use your results. And since we're in that matter, and we started with the cheating theme, but went off the rails, I would like to come back using the approach, the perspective of learning analytics. I will then start with Antonio, if the rest of authors allow me to. And what I would like to say is, okay, you have this information that, it can suggest that the students were cheating. And it's not something, I guess, that you can effectively say, well, this, based on the data I have, this this specific student has cheated, right? I don't know. We could go to see the accuracy, but the important part over there would not be so much about detecting, which is actually impressive in your study, but then what do you do about that? I mean, what's the information you get in order to redesign your questionnaires, or redesign the process instead of going asynchronous like you did, going all synchronous? I don't know, how would you use the results from your research in ongoing projects in the instructional learning, especially if this COVID-19 pandemic keeps on and we're still working online? I would also ask some questions similar to this to the rest of others, but since we're at it, I would like to bring it back to the learning analytics field.
Okay, after seeing our results, what I don't know if during this semester, because this subject is during the second semester, we will evaluate our students in the room or again in virtual environments. But the thing, what we have, we have the evidence that we think that they have part of them have cheated, and if we, but because I am teaching in computer science. If we found for instance, in medicine, in other topics, because I have this conversation with other lecturers. If I know that my students are cheating, how can I trust in a doctor who, for instance, pass some subjects without really knowing the topic? So the first decision, if we are going to evaluate our students again, I don't want to be so strict as they said, but I'm not going to be so flexible to, okay, coffee for everything, all the things you want. No, we are going to be, we don't know exactly the position, but when I say at the end of the paper is that I think that we have a lot of data, a lot of records here to assess our student without an exam, to perform evidence-based assessment, because we have students that have worked a lot during the course because they were motivated. They even, I had more office hours this course than other course due via Google Meet and all these tools. And I think that I had a lot of information, a lot of records that can support this kind of assessment. So an exam in a room, student in this kind of exam can suffer for other problems like anxiety or to be ill. So I think that we can avoid this exam, and they can demonstrate that they are able to pass the exam with all the records they leave in the learning record. So I think we have to avoid exams in both formats, virtual and in the room, in the classroom, and to look for an evidence-based assessment. And of course, we have collected a lot of data in other tools, because they connect to a SQL database, and all the queues they have launched, we have collect them. Also, we have data because we ask them about their motivation, the course, what they think about the course. With all this information, I think that we can know what they are going to the performance in the subject. We don't need exams. We don't need. So how I'm going to use my results? Or I think I am going to. I prefer don't assess again using this kind. Of course, I want to improve the motivation aspects. I want to. I'm not a YouTuber, but during this course, I also make my own YouTube videos, helping them in how to do a lot of things. For instance, the group buy. I remember a question. I have 6 groups in lab sessions, and in the first 3 groups, they asked me the same question. So I decided to create a video in YouTube to explain them. And after a week, only 2 students saw the video, only 2 visualizations. So this is frustrating. So I want to improve this aspect, and well, I don't know how I have answered the question.
Yeah, so basically, if I understood correctly, basically you got the information in order to improve the instructional design, and perhaps doing these questionnaires non-graded or more on a formative way of assessment, right? Just to show that they were not truly valid to assess knowledge, right? Okay, and
I like very much your conclusions, Antonio.
So I think that's also related with Ainhoa's work, because in your paper you also get information, right? And lots of data that for your early warning system of students at risk. And then in fact, in your study, you propose some early interventions that were not really effective, if I am correct. I would really like to understand a bit more about how you plan to use, or how are you using the results of your study in the redesign of the system, or either the redesign of the process.
Okay, yeah. I think that maybe one of the important things is more the redesign of the courses, but that is something that needs times. I mean, the teacher needs to see what is happening, needs to see how to cover it. So maybe the first time is not that easy to just do the correct thing to solve the problem. I think what is important is the part of trying to see what is happening in the system, and also try to give this information in an easy way, especially for teachers with low data literacy skills, because we are thinking always in very complex things, but then we see, I don't know, I have a meeting with some teacher at the school, and they have even problems only trying to work with classroom, not even trying to do anything, but only trying to see who has done this work and who has done the other, and when they have answered me. So trying to give tools to help them in an easy way for them to do that, I think that is very important. I mean, not how you know this is at risk or not at risk, but this is the group, and now you can see what is happening there. And I think that our work is going to go that way, trying to improve the system, but doing things that it's easy for people that doesn't know anything about learning analytics, I think.
Okay, and then have you got any questions about, and this goes to both Ainhoa and Antonio, about false positives? Like you say, well, this student might be at risk, so I'm going to contact him or her, but in fact, he or she's following the course and feels all right. And in the case of Antonio, I don't know if you approached some of the students based on the results of the study. I mean, have you shared something with them, or it's only just, well, we now have suspicions that they cheated, so we're going to discard this kind of assessment?
No, I don't. I don't have enough time to analyze all these this thing after the course. So I work on it during the summer. So I'm sorry, the only thing we detected is that 2 students did the exam from the same IP. So and we tell them, but no, we didn't do anything.
Okay, and how about you? I know, I mean, did you have discussions with the instructors using the system, or get some feedback from students based on your approach to the intervention? Because, I mean, somehow you have to explain them that you're using some data based on which you have decided to contact them, right?
Yeah, in our system, we also have tried to, it's always the teacher who is going to do this kind of task. It's not the system, but the teacher is going to have the tool, and the teacher is the one that is going to decide to contact the students. And what we have tried, or what we are trying to do, because it's very preliminary work, something we have been working now, but also trying to give, or trying to help the teacher, that is, the teacher sees something special, maybe the teacher can also give the students information. Look, I'm giving you this information, or trying to approach you because I have seen this, and I can compare your data with the students, with other students in the group, and maybe here you should analyze it. Or trying to give also these evidences to the students in an easy way for the teacher. But it's very preliminary, so something we are working on.
Okay, great. Thank you very much. I think we can move on to some of the other works. I say hi to Daniel, who has just joined us.
Hi, guys.
Sorry, Ángel.
Yes.
I would like to make a little intervention, telling a story.
Is it really little intervention?
It's little intervention. Just remember that in the Second World War, when Alan Turing was in Bletchley Park cracking the Enigma code, there was one branch of an analysis that he had to perform with his team. It was how to use the information that they were getting in order not to change the behavior of the Germans, because if the Germans knew that their data was being intercepted, they will change their behavior. And I don't know if somebody, if it's not, it's an idea for a future paper and research next year. It's when we take an action using information that we have gathered using learning analytics that we only could have gathered there, analyze these actions, the impact, the good, the bad, and the ugly, remembering former sessions. So it's just that and that story from Alan Turing.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, we can think about that feedback loop, right? In the behavior, data behavior again, and intervention. That's interesting for later on if we have some time. But I would also like to go into the work of Juan. I mean, it was very interesting to see the eye tracking techniques applied to extract information about completing questionnaires. And if we're talking about how to use your results, it would be interesting for us to know whether or not your results, I mean, the technique might also be applicable to any other kind of questionnaire, because you were based on digital based competencies, but also, I mean, how would you use that? And that's related with the next question we're going to do to scale up, but just focusing on this, how would you use that for? Like, I mean, do you plan to use it to refine the different questionnaires? Because from your paper, those questionnaires are pretty standard. And I don't know if based on your results, there's some possibility to modify them and improve them. I don't know. I would really like to know.
Okay, thank you very much, Ángel. Well, as you have said, we have clear that our main objective was to improve the quality of the assessment tasks. We selected two very frequent formats that were simulations and image-based questions. And the results contributed to validate that the assessment criteria that we defined for each item was correct or incorrect. But we also have seen that we can extend our work to items that are going to measure more complex skills, no? For example, computational thinking, no? Or collaborative working and things like that. So we have a big challenge there trying to apply this kind of metrics in items more complex, no? That will require deeper analysis and perhaps the addition of another metrics that with these formats we have not considered. No? Also, I think that it can be interesting using age tracking techniques, for example, for the work of, for the topic of Antonio, no? For checking if anybody is cheating in an exam, because when somebody is cheating, I suppose that they probably will focus their attention in another parts of the screen that are not necessary for solving the task. And perhaps we can analyze that information. But on the other hand, the problem is that these kind of devices are not easy to use. No? They are expensive. They need a calibration process that is long and the effort is big. No? And it's difficult to extend this kind of studies for a bigger amount of test takers. No?
So basically, and correct me if I'm wrong, what you're saying is that the applications mostly for questionnaires dealing with the assessment of skills. What about if we translate that to assessment of knowledge, like instead of focusing on skills, on well-elaborated questionnaires, could you apply the same techniques to how a student solves a questionnaire in a given course? Do you think it could be applicable, or you should change mostly everything?
Mm-hmm. No,
knowledge, if it's not applicable, doesn't matter.
Well, that's a whole different question, but fortunately or unfortunately, the educational system right now measures knowledge somehow with a number, with which we could also debate whether or not that's appropriate. But so let's not go out of our question, please, Mark.
Okay, I think that it can be interesting to analyze knowledge questions, but I think that it's more interesting to apply to more complex tasks where users have to put the knowledge into action. No, because finally students are going to prepare the exam according to how they are going to be evaluated. Imagine if you are going to have to carry out an exam with 70 multiple choice questions. Your approach is going to be totally different if you are going to have to solve some tasks that can be challenged for the students, that they are going to put their creativity in actions or things like that. No, the approach is going to be totally different.
Okay, thank you very much. Just before closing this, because yes, Mark and Danny, I'm going to wrap up points 2 and 3, and you may start them. But we have Joanna here, and very interesting work, and you got lots of information about how the students and the different instructors changed their use of the Moodle platform. So with that information that you've got, and also taking into account that the situation it's been sustained with the COVID-19 pandemic, how are you using the results that you got from last semester into this new semester and probably the oncoming one? I mean, how are you using your results in order to provide your provision of Moodle services and such?
You mean the methodology?
No, I mean all the data you have. I mean, there's a lot
Okay.
of increase in concurrent sessions, and also in the use of resources, message boards, and such. So, have you taken any specific action for this semester in order to provide or just strengthen these services or give more training about some of the services that perhaps you may have detected that were underused or something like that?
The Moodle data we have, we don't use to do actions in the ICE at the moment in principle. We only wanted to show that all was according, that we have done a lot of work teaching, helping the teachers, and there was a result that the indicators of Moodle showed us. But in principle, we are doing a final report with all data from during this COVID, and comparing departments, comparing centers, and we will give this to the university so they can take actions if they need. No, but I think the actions we took were according to the needs of the teachers, because we had by email or during the meets, the courses with meets, they told us, and how we can do the test, and then we did material, via podcast and or whatever, and we collected all of them and help them to do this. And I have already shown that the model indicators help us to see that it worked. No, I don't know the quality, but in terms of the numbers, it worked, because we did a lot of work, teachers, and the students. We didn't lose them in this sense. No, I don't know if they copy it or where they.
Yeah, that's a whole
whatever,
different question that you were not mentioning. Yeah.
Maybe is this what you wanted to know, or I didn't understand?
No, that was all right. And I think I forgot Miguel Ángel, because on his double role as chair and co-author, I didn't ask how the results from your research would be applicable, or how are you planning to use them?
Well, in the case of the results of the learning analytic tool applied to the analysis of Telegram messages, it has been really useful for the evaluation of the subject. So it is being applied, and the good thing is that the students feel happy with the results. That means that maybe we are doing the things very good, very in a very good way for them, or maybe they are happy with the methodology and the tool. I don't know. Anyway, it seems that it works, and another interesting thing is that we have less people asking us for a review of their exam or their interactions, because they are happy with the results and the way we are evaluating them. And regarding the other paper, the criterion analysis, the thing is something that before Mark commented. We are dealing with people, and people in COVID situation have been a hard time. So some of them are stressed and work in a better way, and some of them are stressed and work in a not so good way. So the thing is that stress is there, and there have been an analysis and in a high percentage. So maybe we should think about how to leverage this stress for a good thing, or how to try to reduce the stress in case it is necessary. Okay, so yeah, and if it is possible, because I'm not so sure about this. Okay, so I think it is applicable, but now it's not being applied. Okay.
Okay, so well, thank you. And as promised, now we're moving to the third question. That would be how to scale up the results of your. It's a bit related to the former point, but how to scale up. I mean, a big problem that we have seen in the past 7 editions of this track is that generally we focus on very small experiments. I mean, they have a very narrow scope, and then it's difficult for us as researchers, even though they might be successful, to scale them up and show the benefits for our institution or for the whole community. So how do you plan to scale up the results of your study? And I didn't really ask the previous question to David or Daniel, because in their case, it's a whole matter of scaling up their conceptual framework. And also in the case of Mark with the privacy study, the question would be how to make all the different stakeholders aware of this, for example, local first approach, or the beware of cloud computing for education in the case of Mark. So how do you plan? And of course, this question goes for the rest of authors thinking about your work, how to scale up the results of your studies. For example, I might think in the case of Ainhoa, well, how to make a widespread use of this system across all the institution. In the case of Antonio, it might be good or not. I don't know. After the previous the previous comments, it might be useful or not for the institution to know whether or not their students might be cheating in all the different courses. So I would like to know, and as promised, Daniel and Mark may start here.
Okay, maybe I can start. I'm working at La Salle. I'm sorry, guys, for being late. Since 3 years ago, we are working in an educational data warehouse. So we are building something big inside our institution to assure that all educational data from each of websites, applications that they generate this kind of data, personal data or metadata, is stored inside a huge database. Some technicals are saying, okay, we can save it in Oracle. Okay, that's another question. Okay, that's another matter. Maybe Oracle is not the best one. Okay, but we have to think about using local cloud computing. Okay, and in our proposal of that 7 principles and the local first approach, it's not avoid the use of the cloud computing, but using the data locally, okay, and try to not spread that data outside of the institution. And if we have to do it, we have to use encryption, okay, assure that that data is fully anonymized. I think it's very difficult. Our proposal is not perfect. We can discuss, and it's our aim was to present something to talk about and to debate about that 7 points, because we know that it's almost impossible to work locally. It's impossible. We know that we have to send data to the outside. But if we do that tools, or if we develop that tools locally and with interoperability in conjunction with encryption, we have a lot of powerful tools to interconnect from UPC or La Salle or another institutions, okay, that can interchange data from researcher to researcher and avoid to misuse that data or expose the students and things like that, okay? Now, are you listening to me?
Estàs mute, ara.
Okay, thank you.
Sorry.
Okay. And we know that we have to assure some legacy, okay, some legality. But the legality is punitive, it's not preventive. So we have to build some steps before building those tools. I think that we are conscious about the problem. Sorry for being late, and I think that Mark exposed all the problems about privacy and in the cloud computing, what happens, how data of the students are misused, and how we can avoid that flaws. No? And my approach, or our approach, is extremist. I think it's extremist. Okay, let's think about just make a little shift in the thinking and the use of the local computing. Okay, because I think that if we begin to think like we were doing things in the past, okay, we can improve data leak, improve those little errors that are becoming and are arising with the use of the cloud computing, okay? And if we begin to build educational data warehouse inside each of the institutions, and we use that kind of encryption and give the power to be anonymous to the students, okay, we can begin to share information from the researchers and not limit our scope to our institution, right? And maybe one day we can, like Gaia X, do you know Gaia X, that super cloud computing platform from Europe? Maybe if we accomplish that anonymization of the data, we can have just a educational data hub that each of the researchers can grab information, okay, without compromising the identity of the students, okay? And I say that our aim is to debate. I know that our principles have a lot of flaws, okay? Just, we know that we have something, okay? But maybe we have to enhance some points.
So basically the next steps would be one, institutional awareness outside of La Salle ecosystem, right? For wider adoption and interoperability, and also the development of such microservices and applications that work on that principle of local first, right?
That's it.
Okay, that's very interesting. So yeah, Mark?
Well, my intervention is completely different from the points made by Danny, because it's not, doesn't make sense to repeat ourselves. But I would like to explain that maybe because I had an experience in the 90s where I proposed an European project and we developed a tool for creating contents, and this Marches sisplau. My son just came in. Well, I proposed a tool to develop educational contents in the 90s. We won an European project, and after developing a pretty cool tool, that tool ended up in the drawer. And then I became really concerned about the impact of my research. And from then, always that I have been working in something, I have been trying to have a strategy so my research can have a small or big impact in the society. I used my strategy the last decade was to work with open source communities. And then I had the chance to know one of the authors of our paper, Charles Severance, and he was the creator of Sakai, and he was the first proponent of the LTI standard. And we worked together to get LTI into Moodle and develop the first implementation. And now Chuck and I and Danielle and Maria Jose, we are trying to, first of all, describe the problem. First of all, we have to describe the problem to be able to be in meetings and explain in detail which are the consequences if we don't do the things differently. And then when we describe correctly the problem, we can analyze and find out solutions. For us right now, one of the to be able to comply with the legality is important, because sometimes we're not complying with the legality and we don't know it, and that's a problem. But for us, the problem is not that we are building evil data warehouses that are going to leak from us in the cloud. The problem is that we have other sources of leakage of information that we don't even see when we are using a plugin for instance, have better math representation inside our Moodle. We are sending information outside. When we use an LTI from a third-party vendor that provides a virtual lab, we are leaking information because sometimes the privacy considerations in these tools are not well defined. So we need to start saying, okay, let's build better ways to isolate the information. For instance, last year we focused on the problem that the students are the custodians of the information of their peers, and this information is leaking all the time. So there are lots of ways that information is going to leak. So first of all, we have to define the problems, we have to understand it, and try to have discussions in forums like Martin Dugemas's Open Ed Tech, where he is opening a forum about those who work in open educational technologies. And these people who are working in open educational technologies are the ones we have to have the discussion, and we have to provide them with good practices and good reference implementations, and working with IMS to include better configurations of privacy within the standards that already exist. So we are more concerned into action in development from this research. This research is not just let's publish a paper, or it's about let's put an impact. And it's important that in our research to have a strategy. So in 20 years from now, you can say, what were you doing in the 2000s? And you say, well, I did this, I did LTI, I did a wiki, I did Moodle Web Services. This is what I did, and you can find it. And it's and I miss this kind of approaches in research, and so I explain what I do, so you can copy me.
Okay, thank you. Now I redirect the same question to the rest of authors. How do you plan, or how would you scale up the results of your research in order to get wider adoption?
In my case, it's more or less easy.
Sorry, I have an incoming call and I didn't listen to you. Sorry, can you repeat, please?
No, I was telling all the rest of authors.
Okay, sorry.
To talk about. Okay.
I was telling you that in my case it's easy because we have applied as a proof of concept with one course, but we are trying to use it in 6 more. We are talking about I don't know, around 800 students involved in the next pilot. So we will try to grow up, and we will try to also to open the tool so anyone could use it. And in this way, if they decide to use it, they can. So you cannot decide for the teachers, at least in Spain. So you can provide them with tools, and if these tools work properly, they are going to use it. Okay.
So you plan to extend the use of Telegram for other courses? Oh, that's neat.
And in the other case, the problem is that probably the sample that we have is small. So the first thing, in order to have a study about Ecuadorian stress in COVID situation, we would try to extend it to much more institutions and students in order to have more significant conclusions. In other way, we cannot do. Later, with the resource, maybe we can make decisions about this, or the decision makers can make decisions. Okay. So that's all from my side.
Thank you. I don't know, Juan, Ainhoa, Antonio, Joanna. You can go ahead. Yeah, Juan.
Yes. Okay. In my case, it's clear because we have a very small study case with only 30 participants, and we would like to increase the number of participants and select a more representative group, with people with very low skills that I think that this collective was not well represented in our study, for example.
Oh, thank you. Yes, Diana?
Hola. In our case, I think it is clear because now we have a photo of what happened last year, what happened during COVID, and we can check if things continue good or not. So then we have something to compare. This is one thing. The other thing is that it is very few things we have showed in the paper. We have thousands of data and figures to do very well. No, a long paper, I mean. But the continuation will be, I think, I don't know if we will find something, is compare with the marks, no, to cross with the marks, the not us, no.
The grades, yeah, marks is okay.
The grades, we will be able to do this.
Yeah.
The marks with K, the grades. And because we have the VI in process in the UPC, and we will be able to cross with the grades. So we will see if we find something.
Okay, well, that's interesting. Thank you very much. Well, yes, Antonio?
Well, our tool detects how a student cheat or collaborate on a task and gives us more information. We will apply it again for other activities, not just exams. And well, regarding the tool, there are tools to detect plagiarism, such as Turnitin or proctoring tools that help teachers to detect these behaviors and take the action they consider. And of course, the tool can be valid not only to see if your students are likely to cheat, but also for the teacher to stop and think about why their students are cheating in their subject and how to motivate them. Well, so we are going to.
I have one question there. Is your PyCheat application, well, the software, is it available for everyone to download and try?
Yes.
Okay, that's good to know. So everyone, please check it. Yeah.
Maybe that is a way to scale up, right? Antonio, I send you a message that we will talk during the team, okay? And we will talk after, because I want to replicate your research, okay? And do it in Vasalle in one of my subjects. And maybe this is a good change, no, to scale up our research and to use another teachers, lecturers, and researchers to replicate. So we will talk after.
I will gladly work with you.
Okay, so I know. How about your research? How are you planning to scale up within the institution, or applying it to exporting it, let's say, to other institutions?
In our case, it's quite a preliminary work. So I think that our idea is first to extend it to other courses, because we have tried it only in one, and also to try to enrich the information we are using to create the groups, because it was very little information. So I think that is what we are going to do now.
And are you spreading awareness among some instructors that might be interested in implementing it in their courses, or have you approached some instructors?
We have not done it yet.
Okay.
Until we have begun now, so yeah. We plan to do that, but we haven't done it yet.
Okay, well, thank you. So I guess we're still 20 minutes. We have still 20 minutes. And of course, given that some of the contributions this year were focused on something that we have asked for in the past 3 to 4 editions of this track in that team, and it's about the ethics and privacy of our work. We can reflect on that and how, what kind of data are we collecting, how are we using it. In the case of Daniel and Mark, I know it's part of a bigger framework, but I would like to know about your considerations, both about your specific study regarding the ethics and privacy of and the usage of the data from students' actions or the participants' actions, And also we can talk about it on a wider scope. Okay, like we have 23 minutes to talk about the our impressions or our opinions on this ethics and privacy of in the use of educational data for learning analytics. So this is open for everyone to talk.
Yeah, I just want to say something, and it's something that it's I think it's bad because I'm seeing a tendency, okay, a trend that legality is the new ethic, and this is bad or good. Maybe it depends from the point of view that you use. But when some teachers, okay, and mainly school teachers, no, undergraduate teachers, use legality as ethics, we see that we have Google, we have Microsoft, we have this kind of big techs inside of the school saying, hey, we comply with legality, right? But we are just having blind confidence of these statements, okay? Okay, because Google is saying it is complying the GDPR, okay, because this is what you say, okay, this is what you are saying, but how can I prove that that's true, okay? So we are using that legality, okay, because it's good for teachers because they can use technology that works and technology that helps to teach and to learn to those students. Okay, but maybe we have to have a profound debate, not only with us, okay, with us that we are researchers, but researchers and teachers that doesn't see that kind of problems, okay, because those problems, okay, is a prohibition. It's a kind of lack or a kind of I don't know how to say that. A kind of problem, okay, that prohibits the use of tools and diminishes the possibilities in the classroom. Okay, so let's imagine that we have now, okay, tomorrow Google, Microsoft, and Apple disappears. Okay, I know it's a lot of imagination, right? But which tools will use those teachers? Okay, and in Spain, those teachers are using a lot of tools that comes from incubators, okay, from American incubators.
Yeah.
Okay, there is one that is Imagine K12, and all the tools are coming from there. All our data, Spanish students' data, are going outside to the cloud computer of Trump right now, okay? And we know that there is an NSA and something like that.
With a clear and compliance with GDPR.
Exactly, okay? And we know that the privacy shell, it's not more available, it's prohibited. So I think that we have to make a huge push and inform those teachers, okay, that when we use legality as the new ethic, okay, we are incurring in a lot of problems.
Yeah, but if I may, I think that it is clear that ethics is not equal to just regulations. But I think that in what you said, we are not differentiating between two different levels of users. Like end users just want results and make things better. And some, fortunately or unfortunately, some teachers might not question even which data are the products, the software products using, and just want to help their students. But on the other hand, you have the people implementing the solutions, and that's where ethics more could be more applicable, because you have different things there. Like as you have said, there are some businesses behind some solutions. Like we can think about just say, well, all the Office suite, Google, we have Kahoot from the incubator, just mentioned, and they're businesses. So they just focus on complying with the legal regulations. That's true. But there's another whole level of ethics there, and it's about trying to think about if we really need some piece of or educational data in order for us to improve the learning process. That I think that's the main objective of learning analytics that we've been defending for the last 8 years. So perhaps if we need it, but it has more benefits than any invasion of privacy and such, then it can be good. I'm pretty sure that Mark won't agree on this, but I think it's interesting to open the debate, because somewhere, I mean, extreme positions are very good in order to find a middle point. And my guess is that in this discussion, we might get to that middle point by not demonizing either part. Okay.
Let me, Ángel, let me lay a framework when we discuss about ethics, because it's the course that I teach. And we have here, first of all, GDPR is a really strange law, because if you are not in compliance with GDPR, I cannot sue you. I cannot go to the legal authorities because it's not open for debate. There's an office in Europe that is going to do the work. And if the legal office is not doing its work, nobody is going to be called out. Only when somebody asks for protection about his own data, a student says, I don't want to sign this because I am in risk, but I cannot make a denunciation of the University of Salamanca because they are not complying with GDPR. So there's one thing. Then we have this idea of ethical debate, which is people who are thinking about it's a process of reflection, is a debate that we can have here. And then there's another level, which is morals. For instance, right now with documentaries on Netflix and new books, people are starting to think about privacy. And then you see Apple and Google making presentations and using the word privacy, because right now privacy is entering the moral system. And then we have technology. And for instance, in this room, in this virtual room that we are, I don't have any pointers to your emails or other ways to contact you. I just clicked on a link and I'm here and we are sharing this experience. I can record my screen without you knowing, because I have the technology, because I just know the name that you put, and even I can block my background that I just did it for fun and put the Muppets on. But it's the design of this room respects privacy, because I can hide my screen and I can show it again with a simple click. So I have some kind of control. But for instance, WhatsApp is a technology developed like 11, 12 years ago. And when you are put inside a group of WhatsApp, everybody in the group will know your telephone number, which is a really private thing. Right now, what I am doing all the time is shaming persons who put me in a WhatsApp group without my permission. I'm calling them up, and that's a moral, and that's the third part, which is morals. We have to get into the culture, the moral, and put these morals within the design of the technology. So
Mark,
morals and ethics.
Let's get it down to the educational setting.
The debate of the ethics and what we want to get into morals have to be materialized in the design of the tools that we use and the best practices that we propose to the teachers, because the teachers are overworked. They have to do their own research, and they're not having this reflection. So when we teach them in science of education institutes and this training of professors, we have to have this lesson already thought out, so we can give the proper tools align with the privacy models that we decide or we are proposing and the good practices that go with it. That's it.
Okay, so let me ask you, and I know we risk losing the last 10 minutes. So let me see if I understood correctly. So we would need someone or some group or task force or whatever making a list of perils or the liabilities of each tool, but you don't have to consider whether or not, I mean, if a tool, my question would be if a tool is positive for the learning process overall, what are the considerations in privacy there? I mean, if I know as our Antonio's tool just provides us information based on something that might not respect at all the student's privacy, because I don't know if a student wants to know when a teacher, I mean, I don't know if they want the teacher to know when they are connecting to the online space or when are they doing their questionnaire, if they're following another member of the group and such. But if that helps improving the overall learning process so that we can detect shortcomings and help those students, then what should we do?
Offer the choice. Offer the choice. For instance, when Moodle was designed, Moodle, Martin Duguiemas designed Moodle in 1999 because he wanted a more participative and collaborative platform. So he built inside all the tools so everybody knows everything. And I can know when a student has a login and when a commentary has been done in a forum, at what time, and even the second. I have this information and everybody sees this information. So we have this symmetry. The student sees the information, but the student sees this information about herself, and she knows that the teacher knows this information. Now we are in a different world, and right now we understand, okay, the student has to have the choice at some point to say, okay, do you want to share your the number of times that you log in? Do you want to share this information? To whom and for what purpose? And when the student chooses, and it's easy to say, it is, I won't just say, I'm losing it. Maybe if you are in classroom hours, everything is going to be logged because you're in a classroom. But if you are working at 3 p.m., at 3 a.m., it's your business and nobody has to know about it. It's nobody's business.
In enrollment in most universities, now they are asking the student, well, not asking, maybe... Ask is not the thing. They are
forcing.
Forcing the student.
Forcing. You have to accept this, otherwise you cannot get into the campus.
And in addition,
this is not giving a choice.
No. Yeah, I know, but they are
legal.
doing this.
It's legal.
It's illegal. Yeah.
It's illegal. It's not illegal. It's legal.
It's legal.
It's legal. Yeah.
Absolutely legal. The GDPR says if students don't give that data, teachers cannot do their job. So they have to send that data, and they have no choice.
In fact, I think a part of learning analytics is to have data, and that the students agree with the teachers to allow them this kind of data. For instance, in our work with Telegram and with WhatsApp, we never ask the students for the telephone number. We allow them to send us information, but without this kind of info, because in other way you are asking them for some information that we didn't and we should not to have, okay, and to deal with. But the idea is, if we want, we can ask each of the students or the students to give permission for each of their data. So maybe what we need to do is to not to give general permissions about all the data that a student have, but to ask them about the specific pieces of information that we need to use for our learning, and ask them. And in this way, it would be probably fairer than just to ask for a general permission, as it's been doing now. And as you know, from Seila project, that has been carried out with partners from this country, several universities has policies with data. The problem is that they are very general policies, and probably the thing is to make them, okay, do you agree to give me your data about your work in this forum, in this, not in any other, okay? But probably the management
and for what purpose? Sorry, and for what purpose and for how long are you going to keep it?
Yeah, of course. But the thing is that used to be difficult to manage, very difficult to manage.
Yeah,
because
we remember that we built a plugin where students can say, hey, I want to be anonymous. And we can give students another identity, a second or a third identity. Remember, Mark?
Yeah. And we
the aliases.
Okay, and there's actually there's another stream and that's being complained with GDPR. If I'm not correct, please correct me. But if you use, and that would be the case, for example, of early warning systems. If you train system with data from some participants that later on decide their data, they want their data to be removed, you have to retrain all the system because you cannot use those data in the training. And since we are relying more and more on this kind of recommender system and machine learning system, that brings us a big problem, both from an academic standpoint and also from practice, if we want to really implement, unless there's a big awareness among all the stakeholders, especially students involved in the process, and are really aware about what they are providing for what, and they are willing to provide it for as long as it takes, because if not, the system might be rendered unusable. I don't know if I don't know if I'm correct. That's my information so far.
I can say that machine learning sucks, and that's it. Why? Because it works for a short term. Okay, machine learning for long term is like, okay, we are reproducing the past one time again. Okay, so that's why you have to retrain that information. Okay, because when we use machine learning in education, we are saying, okay, that model that was successful 10 years ago, we are replicating it year by year, okay, over 10 or 20 years. And
okay, if I may, we have one question from the audience.
One thing about machine learning,
because
sorry,
we're almost running out of time, and it's for the audience to be able to participate.
Okay.
So Alejandra Santos says that the teachers at her university, in order to ensure participation in online classes in view of the difficulties of access to the university campus, set up WhatsApp groups. And those of us, she says, who said that this is a mistake precisely because of privacy issues, we were taken as alarmists until unpleasant situations happen in those groups. So they agree with you, Mark. And what Miguel says about requesting authorization for certain data is possible. However, for this it's necessary that students and teachers know in depth about their authorizing. So now please go ahead, because I don't know if the organization will allow us to go a bit over time, but we need to close in 2 minutes. Okay.
Just that machine learning is a bad word. It's not about. I love machine learning. We can do a lot of good things, but the problem right now we're using the term machine learning. People don't understand what's about, and we should just use statistics. It's not that machine learning is statistics, but we have the same problems. If there's a bias in statistics and how statistics are gathered, we have a set of problems and we can understand it and we can have a discussion about it. But if it's machine learning, only specialists in data science and machine learning can talk about it. But it's the same thing. For privacy purposes and social purposes, it's the same thing. So we should go back using it's a derivative of statistics. So let's talk about statistics because people understand it.
not really sure that people really know statistics as an
Well, at least a little more than machine learning.
It's statistician myself, but okay. So I don't know if there's any additional contribution, because we need to be on time in order to keep the program going. Any last remark? Okay, if not, then I would like to thank you, all the authors. Really, your contributions were absolutely great. I suggest the audience to just go back to YouTube and revise the presentations, and also to contact the authors if they have any questions. You can leave any comments there, or just contact them if you're interested in their work and you want to pursue it academically. Miguel had to leave, so I would like to, on his behalf, also to close the session and say farewell to everyone. Thank you, all the organizers. Thank you to all the authors, and of course, thank you to the audience. It's been so interesting, and many topics open for next year's track on Learning Analytics Act team. So please keep an eye on the topics that we will be looking for, and we look forward to meeting you again next year. I don't know if the organizers need to close it somehow, but goodbye and have a nice day.
Thank you very much. Bye-bye.
Okay, bye-bye.